Hey there, this is James Wilson with MTV Strength Training Systems and BikeJames.com. Today I want to share some very important tips for deadlifting for mountain biking. What I'm going to do is show you what a good deadlift should look like, show you some of the common errors that people make and how you can fix that. The deadlift is such a great exercise for us because it builds the core strength and the body position that we need on the bike. It does it in a very functional way. So there are a couple different ways to deadlift though, so it can cause some confusion. So when I say deadlifting for mountain biking, there's a specific way that I'm talking about, so we make sure we're working the movement patterns we need on the bike. So first and foremost, what I'm talking about when I say deadlift is a narrow stance deadlift. This is a sumo deadlift where the legs are out wide and you come down and the hands are inside of the legs like this. You tend to do this with a little more upright position here. If you're, a power lifter or something like that, then that's totally fine. But as mountain bikers, we don't ride like this. We want to ride like this. We really want the hips back and the chest down. That's the key to good body position on the bike. So we want that to be reflected in how we deadlift. So that's why I like the narrower stance deadlift with the hands on the outside of the legs. So when you come down, I like to set my thumbs on the edge of the knurling, just get them long, spread them out like that. You basically want your hands wide enough so that when you come up, they're not going to hit your legs. If you feel like as you stand up, your hands are rubbing against your legs, it's going to be distracting and you don't want to be thinking about that. So make sure you at least have your hands wide enough to clear your legs. So once you've got that set, you want to do a couple things before you come up to make sure that you're nice and strong and safe. So the first thing you want to do is check your head position. Don't look up. That puts your head in a bad position and it makes it really tough to keep the body position that we want in our deadlift. So what I like to do is find the spot where the floor and the wall meet and look at that seam right there. That's a good spot to keep your eyes the whole time while you're deadlifting. So you got your eyes set. Now we're going to set our core, get our body set before we come up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit back into my heels a little bit. I imagine that I drop my heels into the ground. When I do that, I actually sit back a little bit. So if I let go of the bar right now, I would actually tip back. It's not a lot, but that idea of kind of sitting the heels down, dropping the heels into the ground, sits you back into your hips a little bit more before you come up, because that's what we want to do. And then finally, we want to get the upper body set as well. So what I like to do is make sure I point my elbows. Right now my elbows are pointed out to the side. So what I'll do is I'll point my elbows back behind me, screw them in. And you can see when I do that, how it gets my shoulders nice and strong. They get sucked in, they get packed in. My elbows get locked out, gets my triceps locked out. So it really gets the whole upper body core position set. So sitting back into the heels, sets the hips and the lower body core, turning those elbows back behind you, making sure those elbows are locked out, shoulders are packed in, make sure the upper body core is set before we come up. Very important you make sure you're in that position before you stand up, or else you're gonna have a tough time getting a good rep and staying injury free over the long run. So once you've done that, sit back on my heels, turn those elbows back behind me. Last thing I'm gonna do is take up the slack. That little sound right there, there's a little free play in the bar. You wanna take that up before you stand up. You don't wanna try to just jerk the weights up through that free play. So you take up the slack. Now I'm gonna drive through my heels. I'm gonna squeeze my thighs together and I'm gonna get nice and tall and thin at the top. Do not lean back. You have to get tall and thin at the top. And then you're gonna bring your hips back down, reset between each rep. I really don't like reps where people are just bouncing, because you wanna make sure you set the heels down, set the elbows back, making sure everything's nice and strong, you're in the right position, and then do your next rep. So I like to think about if I'm doing 5 reps, I'm not doing 5 reps, I'm doing 1 rep 5 times in a row. So approach each rep like its own thing and you'll get more out of this exercise. So that's basically it. The main problems that I see with this is that people rush the setup, and so they don't take the time to do those couple little things. So the common things you'll see is squatting down. So that's something we want to make sure we're sitting the butt back, got the chest down. We don't want to try to squat that. You'll feel that because you won't feel like you can really drop the heels into the ground. You'll feel like your weight's kind of on your toes the whole time. And so again, if you can't drop your heels into the ground and kind of sit yourself back into your hips, then you need to check where your position is. You probably need to straighten the knees out a little bit so you can sit back a little bit more. So watch that. The other thing that you want to watch is that you keep a nice good core position. So I see a lot of people who will do this, and you can see I've got a lot of bend in my lower back when I do that. So you have to keep the core nice and strong and straight. And again, if you set the heels down to the ground and you screw those elbows back and down, you can't really do that as effectively, especially the elbows screwing back. It doesn't work as effectively if your core is in a bad position. So watch that. Again, that's a really big one. I'll see people who do a real good job pushing the butt back, but they won't let their chest come down to the ground, and they try to keep that chest up right. And again, it compromises the core position. You're not able to get that set. So watch those couple things there. Use these tips next time you do your deadlift. You get a lot more out of it. You definitely need to be deadlifting if you're serious about riding. Well, obviously you need to make sure that you've got the right movements to be deadlifting heavy. Once you move well, you should be looking at getting strong. Your average rider out there, your average male rider should be looking for a 1.5 to 2 times body weight deadlift, and female riders should be looking for a 1 to 1.5 times body weight deadlift. And once you've achieved that strength level, it will really make an impact on the trail, no matter what kind of riding you do. So anyways, hopefully you've enjoyed this tip, help you get more out of your deadlifts, which will ultimately help you get more out of your riding, which is really what it's all about. Once again, it's been James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems. Check me out on the web at bikejames.com, and I'll talk to you next time.